There it goes again. There it goes. There it goes. Get a lot.
You're on Zoom.
Yes.
Starting shortly.
It's fine. We had more votes than anybody else.
Well, there wasn't anybody.
That was. You're a good Samaritan.
Yes.
All right, hi, everyone. We have 6 members in attendance. We're going to go ahead and get started with the Monroe County Historic Preservation Board of Review. It's Monday, November 21st, 2022, and it's 5:34 p.m. I will give a roll call for the members that are currently in attendance. Duncan Campbell, who's arriving late. Doug Wilson,
Here.
Debbie Reed,
Here.
Susan Snyder Stalin,
Hey.
Holly Root Sturgeon is absent. Devin Blankenship is Don Hall,
Here.
Danielle Bashon Bell,
Here.
Don Maxwell.
Here.
Okay, we have 6 members in attendance in person, which constitutes a quorum. So I'm going to go to the agenda here. First thing up on the agenda is the approval of meeting minutes for September 19th, or it should be, yeah, September 19th, right? Yeah, September 19th meeting minutes, 2022. So now I'll open the floor for any discussion on those meeting minutes, comments, edits, anything like that. I will also note that Duncan has just arrived.
Did we really not start until 5:50 p.m.?
On September 19th,
Correct.
it says.
Is that a
It's,
typo or is that
Um,
accurate?
I don't remember.
We had
Technical issues, okay.
Okay.
Because they had a new system.
Is it helpful for historic purposes to say delay is due to technical reasons in the minutes so that we're not negligent in our startup time? Just wondering.
Sure. Yeah.
Anybody
I
have
can do
a
that.
thought on that?
I can make a small note, right underneath that says delayed time started for.
If anyone else thinks that, to me, I just don't want to be derelict in starting on time. If there was a reason we couldn't, then.
Make that note. Got a note. Any other comments, edits to make for the meeting minutes for September 19th? Y'all looking over them right now.
You're a good writer, deserve, you know, you're good, complete yet concise notes. Trying to find the errors, but no. Right earlier today too.
Thank you.
Teachers can't help ourselves. I know.
I move to approve. If everyone's,
I second with the addition of the notation as to the late start.
Okay. There's been a motion to approve and a second, the meeting minutes for September 19th, 2022. I'll now call a roll. Doug Wilson,
Yes.
Debbie Reed,
yes,
Susan Snyder Salmon,
Yes.
Don Hall,
Yes.
Danielle Bashant Bell,
yes,
Don Maxwell,
Yes.
Duncan Campbell.
Yes.
The minutes are approved. Okay, moving on, we have 3 administrative business items. The first item is a follow-up to the Monroe County Historic Preservation Board review membership terms. So I've been working with members of the Commissioner's Office, specifically Dina DeLauder Myers, about getting the confusion with the terms fixed. So there is a new term expiration dates for some individuals. The way that she did it, it's now 3 individuals each year as the ordinance states will be expiring. So I don't have the former term expirations on here for individuals, but I don't think that she changed very much. So we have Duncan, Debbie and Susan are expiring January 1st, 2025. Doug and Holly and Devin are 2024, January 1st. And then we have Don Hall, Don Maxwell, and Danielle Bashant Bell. Their terms are expiring January 1st, 2023. So that's what we have right now. And if there's anyone who's have any comments or anything to say, let me know.
Just a point of clarification, that's not in our packet, correct?
It is not in the packet.
I looked for, I couldn't.
Yes, it is not in the packet. That's correct. I can send this out to everyone afterward. So you all have a record of it and you can just add it into your calendars for your own records.
So that means we've got 3 people
I will just state right now for public record that I have requested not to be renewed. For, who knows that?
Yep.
Who others know that, that I will not be renewing, as a member.
Do we have applications from anybody?
I have not seen any personally. I know that the commissioners, occasionally during their, commissioner meetings, which are on Wednesdays, every Wednesday at 10 a.m. Monroe County Courthouse, it's also on Zoom. They do, occasionally talk about, people that might be interested to contact their office and to contact planning. Of course, all of you are well aware that anyone that you might know that might be interested as well are able to reach out to them and suggest new members that way too.
Do we have to be careful of townships with that opening or anything?
I am not sure.
Okay,
I think there's,
Spread out.
sometimes there's a city county residency issue. I'm a resident of the city,
okay,
so if you find somebody else who's a resident of the city.
right,
then-
most likely, right.
Like was like, but obviously if they're in the county, then.
Yeah.
But I think that was the main thing, is just kind of create a balance.
Well, there's a limit on how many city residents can be on it.
Right, yeah, and city of Bloomington, I don't know that it's, I don't know, I can't remember if Ellettsville was part of that or not. I think it was mostly Bloomington,
No, it's not.
yeah. I think it was just an effort to not have too many people from Bloomington city limits.
Are those details in the ordinance or somewhere else? They're specified in the ordinance.
I believe so. I think they're in something somewhere. One of them, I don't think it's the rules and procedures, but it could be, it's either the rules and procedures or the ordinance.
Yes. Well, if there's nothing else to talk on with this one, so go ahead and proceed to our next administrative item. So those of you that it will be expiring in 2023, I think Dina will be reaching out or someone from the commissioner's office regarding term renewal if you choose to renew your terms. Get those letters going. Okay, next item is the recoordination letter for the Cars Farm Trailer Connector Project, Monroe County, Indiana. So this one, along with some of the other coordination letters, you know, I've seen some delays since we couldn't meet last month regarding quorum. So for this one, I think I have something in here for it. Yes. Yep. Okay, so planning staff received a message regarding the Cars Farm Greenway Connector project. They have, the project managers have decided to alter the path for the Cars Farm Greenway Connector. You can see on this map, they have a new route and they indicate the old route here as well. So basically, because they changed the pathway, they resubmitted requests for recoordinations in case there was any comments from the respective parties that would be interested. So I sent an email to you all that originally they had requested a response by October 8th. Of course, that fell in a area that didn't really fit with our meeting schedule. And we were going to talk about this last month, but if we do have anything, we can certainly still send something their way. I think it's a very short distance. And it goes mostly through a mobile home park, I believe. A manufactured home park. This is off of South Creek Hike. Does anyone have any comments or questions?
Is the name of that, you know, if you know, name of that,
Neighborhood?
what we call it? It's out of curiosity.
It might be.
It's too, There's a fire station back in there. Can't remember.
The cabin. Like, I know that cabin. It's curious.
We've done a lot of, you know, working.
September 30th. It's first out.
Don't spend tons of time looking for that.
Okay.
You're in it.
Yeah, I don't-
I
I don't know off the top of my head.
It was just like, you know, it's not.
Okay.
Important.
Sure.
I think I'm getting Heatherwood.
Heatherwood, okay,
Maybe.
that's where we've done a lot, okay.
No, that's off of Leonard Springs, sorry.
Yeah, Heatherwood is south.
Kind of on both of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Is that still Campbell?
Yes, it is under the ownership of Campbell, like,
Lamplighter is what I have on Google Maps.
okay.
Lamplighter Estates.
Well,
Asking for completely different reasons.
Which is hard to.
Everybody else.
I think we routed it.
they did mention that in their initial. Here's their initial. Reach out. Because of right-of-way concerns, the northern leg of the project has been rerouted and see attached pre-coordination letter for details, so that's really all that they gave. It's right-of-way, so it might have been right-of-way dedication or right-of-way acquisition issues, so.
If I recall correctly, we didn't have any real. That's first time around.
That's all previously massively disturbed area, right?
Well, yeah. I looked into it.
Yeah, I think in my review of the initial communication between this board and the project managers and Danielle, I think it was authored by you that there was, on behalf of the board, that there was no issues, at least with the old route. So I can't imagine moving it just south there and being more straight lined, that there would be anything else that you might all be aware of. I'm not sure, but. Okay. So we can move on to the next one.
We need to make a motion to say we're not gonna do anything. Close it, or we just leave it there?
I mean, certainly it doesn't hurt to make motions, just to cover ourselves. It is just an administrative item. We can certainly, proceed with just simply saying it's a staff action that I can act on behalf of the board and communicate that there's no comment.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Make it so.
Make a note.
Sorry about that. Something is afoot.
Vikings.
Here to the agenda. All right, our final administrative business item is the potential book project with the History Press. So again, this one was a little bit of a go. Planning staff had received an email regarding a history book project that the authors or the production company was interested in tapping the knowledge of the Historic Preservation Board. So I sent out this forwarded this email to all the board members to see if there was any initial interest. A few of you replied with saying that you were somewhat interested or very interested, so we added it as an administrative item, just to open up some more discussion on that, see if we wanted to maybe add that to the work plan as a project or something like that. So yeah, I open the floor to board.
Anybody gonna write a book for them?
Well, they were offering, like, pay the county for time or anything, were they? Supposed to do it out of the goodness of your heart?
Yes.
Possibility of a bestseller.
Challenging. I know Polly expressed interest. I know I expressed interest initially, but I didn't know, what's involved in it.
I would, I'll just throw this out. I was approached by the same guy pre-pandemic about, and I think I put this in an email, about doing the same regarding farms. Monroe County could have been beyond, talking on the phone about the whole thing. I would recommend anyone who has the least bit of interest in this to do the same. Have a phone conversation, because then you find out exactly what you're getting into and what you get out of it. Which is, my take on it was, it's a volunteer project, it's a lot of work on your part, you don't get much return. Other than the feel good, maybe a little bit, percentage on sales. So.
Your name in print.
I mean, it's one of, a lot of people do these. Arcadia Press, I mean, it's, that's what it started off as. A lot of nonprofits do them, and, so it has its purpose. But it's just, on a personal level, it's just, I'm going to vote. So, which is why I said, we had the work plan with a lot of other activities that not exactly sitting through on completions. I'll locally, and I don't know that something was terribly involved at that point. I know here I did one of these many years ago, but I don't know. I mean, I know, they had local historic preservation professional who pretty much spearheaded the writing and information gathering and all that. And then the proceeds any proceeds would go back to URI, but I don't know that it was, whatever your proceeds are based on how much sells, so, it's kind of one of those things, so.
Not many, not much in the way of proceeds.
Exactly.
I don't know what BRI ever realized out of that, but that was written by, what's her name? She's a history,
Eliza
Eliza.
Steelwater.
Eliza Stillwater. That's good. It's a history of Bloomington. What's the name of that series?
Well, that's part of this. It's all the same. It's all Arcadia Press. That's what it started off as,
This is the same one.
And it's the same thing over the years. They've kind of evolved. They've come up with different versions of themselves, different angles. When I was at the Georgia Historical Society, I had some colleagues that did various ones, but they were getting paid as staff people of GHS, and we were using collections, so it was a way for the Georgia Historical Society to promote its own collections and history, and so you might be able to gather. I'm not like a huge fan of the concept unless you just like. As a volunteer, you just really want to do writing and research, and it sounds fun. No. Anyway, but yeah, it's not like, and I don't know what, again, when you be having a conversation with him, because that's what I struggle with when he contacted me about farms, like, what's the angle, what are you looking for? I'm not really sure what exactly the angle would be here, you'd have to come up with that, and like. you know, just saying historic preservation in rural county probably is not gonna generate a lot of sales. So you gotta come up with some kind of angle, you know, and what direction you're gonna go in. And so, like I said, it has potential, it's just who has the time. And then maybe if you had a, you know, earmarked, you know, if there was any income, if it's going through this board, then you get into the situation of, well, this is a county entity, so we probably can't be making money off something, so that money would have to be, you know, what would it go towards? Who would get it?
There won't be much money.
No, but even if it's $1,
These are
you know,
scams to get other people to do their work. I mean, let's be honest.
yeah, oh, yeah. Yes, I'm
I've read several of them, and most of them are terrible.
Well,
Well,
it's-
I said it is good because she's a history writer. And she really knew how to put,
Right.
you know, put stuff together and parse the meaningless stuff, but most of them are.
That's the thing, they're not edited by professional editors, barely, or so. So it's only, they're only as good as the person writing and research. So they don't
History of the name of your
have
organization, you'll get a solicitation from them, that's basically.
No professional editors do.
Well, I mean, professional in the sense that somebody's getting paid, but it's not gonna be you. The writers aren't getting paid, aren't making any money.
And there's not somebody, it's not like a, you know, a general publishing company where, you know, somebody's really thinking of,
Making sure that's accurate.
yeah, you know. Other typos and things like that, you know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have some of those people here who probably do a better job. But there again, there's a lot of unknowns, I think, so that's why I say, if anybody like Polly or anybody's just the least bit interested, I just recommend calling in, getting details,
Yeah.
asking every single question.
I think Eliza actually negotiated a flat fee.
And of course, that may have changed, you know, her ability to do that back, like 20 years ago.
At least,
Yeah, so like.
okay, we spent enough time on it.
Okay, yeah, so it sounds like if any staff or any board members are interested to contact the History Press individual and you know, report back to this board if you want to proceed with something like that, and it will be due added to the work plan, but we will move on. Okay. Scroll back up to our. Okay, so that's it for the administrative items. So now we have a few old business items and 2 new business items. First old business item is the NDOT early coordination letter for the minor structural project along State Road 46 from the State Road 446 intersection to the west junction of State Road 135. It's on page 11 of the packet. Okay. So we did initially talk about this in our September meeting. I did send this email to the project contact regarding an extension for comments from this board. I stated that we would be meeting on October 17th. Unfortunately, that did not happen. So I don't believe I've been reached out by this project coordinator since. But if we do have comments for this one, I know that there was some discussion about the geological formations nearby. So we want to get an email together and send them some comments to them regarding maybe some sites that should be identified within the project scope. That would be helpful.
Polly had mentioned that there was a major fossil bed.
Yes, yeah. I looked for that on our Elevate GIS system, but being unfamiliar with its exact location, I was not able to exactly locate it and give a distance from where the road is, and the project scope is. Yes.
This is just repaving the road, right?
I think they're widening it a little bit, right?
Let's see here. Their project.
I believe they're widening, it is road widening, which is why it's caused a bit of alarm.
Here is the whole letter. I'll do that. Scroll down to maybe one of the items.
I'm looking at some of those attachments.
Here's the project location. This whole length,
46. We're only good at the county line.
correct?
Most of it's in Brown County.
But that's why I suggested that Indiana landmarks need to be involved because both counties are in central region.
Here's on a topo map. Yeah, in my initial email to them requesting the extension for comment period, I did include those additional emails. They should include those organizations in their reach out for coordination.
I think it's spelled north. The north. It could be.
Devin also mentioned something, but I can't, my brain is not remembering what he said.
Holly mentioned a very sensitive area,
Yeah,
and I'm not sure 2 months ago,
Yeah.
if that area was in Monroe County, Brown County,
I think it was Monroe.
but she was very concerned. I believe, not putting words in her mouth. But I thought she said something, the fact that they even take people to that site. And I would be there. I know you shouldn't assume, but it could either be students or visiting university officials. They do that. Our quarries, survey, Todd Thompson, Polly and all, so we might want to reach out to Polly because she would be the one to, if she would, be kind enough to write a letter or if she was thinking that it was needed.
Okay.
A lot of the buildings are close to the road. The road is narrow and a lot of the buildings are.
They're putting, widening it at access roads, so. These are to create turning lanes, it looks like. But some of them are pretty invasive into property owners' site.
I can think of a couple of barns that are really close to the road, all along that way.
Was that the August? Okay. I have all the photos.
I think this is, so in I think it was the September packet. The September packet has a email that's in the a report, and then there's a link, a PDF link that should take you directly to the coordination letter. And then in the coordination letter, there's these images that have different locations. Descriptions. So this one's, yeah, clearly not too much of a widening. There's others like this.
They might be trying to, I don't know if they mentioned it or not, if they're trying to do some widening because there's so much cycling along that route too. I think a little bit more of a edge.
There are a few places to pass that people get.
That
paid.
too, that they've been installing, or they have installed some, I think there's like 3 locations they've installed these, warning lights for people who are coming out onto the highway to warn them that there's traffic coming. It's been periodically, you know, it's they keep working on the whole thing. That's
That's a pretty significant motion.
That looks like they're trying to create passing lanes.
Is the yellow line the new right of way that they're? Or
Looks like to me the yellow would probably be the right of way. Surely they wouldn't be.
Says the yellow is a study area.
Yeah.
Okay. Know some of the barns you're thinking about, Doug. You're right. Let's hope they don't go down.
It looks like this one might be the last one right before the county line.
What page is that?
So this is, these items I'm looking at, they are not directly in the packet. They're a link that you get to from the packet from the September meeting.
But I'm looking at that on my phone, so.
Oh, sure.
Page is the last one in the.
This one is on page 23 of 87.
Okay. That's what I
Yeah,
was.
because then the next one, page 24, is in Brown County. I'm gonna scroll back to the top here so we can.
If you look on page 20, it's very close to a barn or something, but it's really not any off the road. I mean, it just be off the road, not a chunk. Just don't know where that spot is that Polly was referring to.
Yeah, I can coordinate with Polly. And make sure that she takes a look at the, at least some of these project locations they've identified. And see if they're anywhere close to the formation that she was speaking of.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any, anything that they might say?
I mean, there's several issues. One is the road itself,
Mhm.
which is a historic route, which is obviously going to be now turned into a state highway. Spec with lots of additional signage and widening areas and passing lanes. So it's going to totally change the nature of the route between Bloomington and Nashville. Probably to speed it up so we can choke more tourists in the area. And I mean, it seems to me that's an issue, whether that's even advisable, although horses out of the barn, as they say, in this project. And then these structures that may be impacted. That area of concern, that yellow red line is what they call study areas, you know. It's the impact area that you would normally consider for historic preservation. So anything inside those lines would be impacted by the change. And it's fair game for discussion. But short of going out there and taking a survey all the way to the Brown County line of everything that's potentially impacted, I don't know how we can reasonably comment. I mean, I think we're all gonna hate it. I mean, it might be slow to get to Nashville sometimes, but it's a whole lot more fun than it's gonna be when this is done.
Yeah, I can follow something on 35 on the way over. Is it, oh my God, is it there? Drew, can you scroll down a little bit again to that beginning? Where it says, it's, you know, you like scroll up, anyway, go back out there for, it says existing conditions right there. I think that's an important first couple sentences. Like Duncan's mentioning this national highway system, national truck network, state corridor. I think that's why I'm paying attention to it.
Semi on that road.
Or be behind it.
Oh, going.
12-foot travel in each direction. They're just kind of, it's just kind of FYI, like, what they're saying existing conditions are. And then as you scroll through that, it gets into, you got national wetland inventory maps,
Definitely
yeah, state
wetlands.
forest.
Lake Monroe floods all the way out to the road right
know.
now.
And then they get into the project need of purpose. Which can help explain some of this.
Yeah, the areas they're working on in Belmont, I mean, they're huge. Those yellow lines are like, takes up half the buildings that are in downtown, what I consider downtown Belmont.
And then they get into the improvements, which kind of might answer any questions, but. Yeah, kind of gets through a lot of the weeds to actually get. So they want to change.
Road developers identified with substandard design features
Mm.
or a high crash rate will be improved. It's taken out. Several curves of super elevation modification.
Passing.
Normal grounds will be milled down.
Is that what they call that? Passing blisters? Is that what a passing zone is? Sounds like something that explode.
Well, I just know they've taken away in our county, most of the ones that I used to have in Tri-State Creek.
It's a blister. So anyway, so yeah, so that's answering some of our speculative questions. 22 small structures experiencing deficiencies will be replaced.
Yeah, those are culverts and small bridges.
Yeah. I saw.
They're not talking about raising it any further above the flood waters, are they? And see any of that in there?
Needed to install last one, like base culverts.
I don't know if any of the road is actually in the floodplain. The adjacent ground is.
Yeah, I've never seen the road be flooded or hear about the road being flooded.
No, they built it up over. And so it's still gonna get that.
Not sense.
Causeway right through there.
You know, my initial thought on this would be somewhat of a recommendation. Oh wow, 9.71 acres of trees will be cleared. Is that if nothing else that I mean, Polly as chair, at least, I guess, you know, writing letter pretty quickly to say, you know, this board wants to make comments and wants to be a consulting party. And I mean, if you don't get your foot in the door, then the door closes. So, you know, if she wants to add to that with anything she knows about that specific geological site, that's, you know, one way to start, say, you know, we just have more investigation to do or whatever, or if that's the only thing you want to add, that that's my first thought, that if anybody here wants to still take time to look at it, then that should give you time.
It's my township, I should look at it.
Well, yeah, you can, yeah.
drive along there and see.
How would you compare yellow lines to our charts
I
of
wouldn't
all the
worry about
historic
the yellow
buildings? Yeah.
lines. I mean, I would just, you know, if you're just driving along the road, you think like, well, there's something right
Made a
there.
note of
It's
something.
close enough to mention.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, they may or may not think it's a problem, but at least you're throwing it out there. I did that recently with something down in Posey County. And by the time they looked at it, the house had been demolished, so know, doesn't matter, but at least I told them about it. You know, so.
You have to remember too, utilities will move out. It's not just, you know, the houses, the barns, the trees, all that, everything's going to be. I know it's a terribly, terribly dangerous highway.
And everybody's got to really that.
Oh my, and I can remember, if you'll allow me, from the time I was aware of traffic, et cetera, in high school, driving all, many accidents, deaths. So I can understand why they're wanting to improve this, but I kind of echo what Duncan said. I just really hate to see them make these incredibly drastic changes. I'd like to see more of a middle of the road because it's just going to change the entire flavor of southern Indiana, Bloomington to Nashville. And, you know, the history of the Brown County artists, et cetera, TC Steel. It's just going to be another, if you will, like Greenwood, Indiana, just zoom, 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 you know.
So that, those two comments should be part of that letter, if nothing else. And it's, you know, and that should be incorporated as part of this letter to say, hey, you know, it's just how the board members think, whether that changes anything. It's like, it's how.
Yeah.
And it's out there.
Again, and I do, I think all of us are, if I'm not speaking for all of you, but we understand, keenly understand all of the accidents, the deaths. You know, it's just been incredible from Bloomington to 130. I think it's 135 where it ends, and I know exactly where 135 turns off. The amount of traffic accidents, fatalities, et cetera. But again, I just hate to see this massive change. It's going to change the entire flavor, again, from Bloomington to Nashville. It's
Well, and many, from what I was reading on some of it, you know, the intention of flattening out and straightening curves to increase their safety at a higher speed. So it isn't making it safer, it's just making it faster.
It's encouraging faster driving.
Right.
To get there 2 minutes before.
And that's usually the thing now.
This is, I mean.
an aside. This has nothing to do with this, but I-69, go travel I-69 from Bloomington to Indianapolis. A speed sign is a joke. It's a joke. If it says 70, you feel like you're walking and everybody else is just. Seriously.
It's an interstate now.
Yeah, and that's exactly. No, I know, but if the speed limit, the max is 70, it's a joke.
Get out of the way if you're going 70.
Exactly, but you're walking at 70, and I'm afraid this is what might be the case. It's not going to really help the cause as much as just speed up so they can get there 20 minutes instead of 30 minutes.
About how 46, the character of it changes when you take it from Bloomington to Nashville and then you make the turn toward Columbus and there it becomes a kind of
Exactly.
straight shot. I think that character will be carried over into the more western part of it in this area. here.
Exactly.
Danielle, you're right. I envision more damage in Brown County.
Oh, yeah.
If we wanted to try to collaborate with somebody that has the jurisdiction.
Well, especially in the Belmont area and the turn to Yellowwood and where that activity barn is, those areas are really impacted on the maps.
Well, that's why I said with the Indiana Landmarks office, central offices, both counties. So I mean, you could connect with anybody, you can connect with Mark and whatever they're looking at, you can be part of that. But that's why I said, I mean, this is as early coordination letter. And that's why I'm encouraging you to just do something out there. That's something from this board it would be coming from Holly as chair. Obviously, as staff, you could write it too, but I mean, you gotta get your foot in the door because it doesn't look like they have, I don't know if that's in there, that they have not actually gotten to the point where they gotten with some, whether it's somebody in their office or some other office and actually doing a survey. Like we've seen in other ones where they, they've gone out and done that survey of historic resources and, asking for opinion. But this is even earlier than that. So there's time, although they are looking at, I think they said fall, I think it said fall of 2024.
24, yeah.
And doing the work. So,
Of course, right in time for football.
yeah, it's a stupid time.
So do we just need to suggest that Polly and give Polly the permission to go ahead and draft something that may incorporate her concern over the geological features and our concern about the nature of the road and just get that letter in? Does that make sense to delegate that to Polly?
I think so. And staff can work with her, and making sure that that gets out and, it could be even drafted in a way that says these are preliminary comments, more comments from this board may come up through our analysis of the project as it continues on. That way we kind of keep that foot in the door of, this isn't the only time, but there might be more things that we come to recognize as more information is shared with us.
It's, specifically saying that this board wants to be a consulting party, because that way you're
Use
always
those-
on
that
every single,
terminology.
every single
Consulting
time
party.
they send out anything about the project, then this board gets notice that way. And so,
So I think that language is important to make sure it's in the letter.
That's probably to be the squeaky wheel.
Well, and plus she can identify exactly where that
Geological.
geological.
is that, and that's, that's kind of different. That's not always something that's on radar of CINDOT and others.
My sense also is that it's entirely outside of the city. Did you get that feeling too?
In Bloomington,
Yeah,
yeah, it only starts there at 446.
446 is the point.
because I wondered if we wanted to get the city historic preservation board in on it, which this would exclude them, but it doesn't necessarily include them.
They weren't on the distribution list, but I
But I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah, they don't care. It's not under jurisdiction.
that stretch before you go down from the ridge is pretty
There's just.
I mean,
thickly settled anyway.
I honestly don't know exactly
No.
what direction the.
Oh, on the right.
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
Red Barn. Yeah.
Well, and it's the old, Picture store too, that's there.
Yeah,
That's good.
but I honestly don't know
Yeah,
where
that's a barn.
that's far.
The part of it is that it's an old barn.
It's a rickety
Yeah.
one, but it's there.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't say too much for its roof. but-
We've already initiated the terminology of consulting party. So I'll just ensure that if Polly gets something to me and I can just continue on this email thread with them and continue to copy Polly. Or.
I would just recommend that always be stated.
Yeah.
That.
Just reiterate it with every,
Reiterating it
Yeah.
because, so often this board gets. It's not even on somebody's radar to be a consultant party, but.
Is there any scenic designation on 46?
what?
Scenic
No,
designation.
I think there was discussion about it at some point in there.
not on any of the maps or any of the.
There's quite a few at the top of that hill and
Trees, that might be one way to keep them from. Messing with that.
It's a spot, yes.
There is just,
But Doug just mentioned. Look out. I don't know if they have an
yellow
actual
building that's.
title for it.
but look, if he's, I think Doug is thinking more like scenic byway, kind of.
Some sort of designation.
I don't know that. I don't think it ever was given anything like that, but I'm aware, there's certainly no signs.
No, there's no sign.
Not to belabor this, but I'm sitting here thinking. What's Brown County? What are they thinking? The town, the city, the county, the historical group they have, what are they thinking? Has anyone heard anything? Or probably not, or you would have already said it, but it's just something to kind of keep in mind that if you're talking to anyone about, you know. from
Well,
that
that's
area-
why I said, when we mentioned, we had Drew give information about Peaceful Valley. But like I said, I, same thing, I would recommend contacting Mark directly. See if he's made any comments specifically or not. And that could be helpful.
Maybe I, in the next letter that has all this information, maybe I just go ahead and copy Indiana Landmark and Peaceful Valley.
Can't hurt, I know I gave you Mark's direct email,
Sure.
a better one to use than that one. That might eventually get through to him, but if you need, I can.
Yeah, I'm looking at all the byways and scenic routes, the sites that were not listed there.
So if there's nothing else, move on to the next agenda item, which is, it's the interpretive signs, project that's going on in the Fullerton Pike corridor. We've had some conversation about this one. Last we spoke, we also requested that we, provide or that we get an extension for comments. In the September meeting minutes, I had some notes about what we discussed. I think I also included. Yeah, do we have any updates on that? I do believe that I did receive a follow-up from the project coordinators with this one. That they wanted to, get some more feedback since they hadn't heard from us. And I know that last time we talked about vetting the signs, we felt comfortable just knowing that the consulting party that was involved with those was responsible in their design and their content, that sort of stuff. So.
It was a really good session at the Historic Preservation Conference at the end of September on signage. And I don't know enough about it to apply it to this. So maybe by the next time I'll understand it a little bit better. And talked about, just the placement and the language and the visuals and whether making an effort to make sure that they go beyond the obvious, which of course this project is way past that point. But it was really well done, and I just need to learn a little bit more about it, but I'm sure there's some history here. We've had some feedback input along the way, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is like the last, tidbit from I-69. Went through. Well, there was multiple property nomination of the Blackstone district and review. The audio
Roundabout, the removal of the school,
yeah, I mean, there's.
the entrance to the old water treatment plant.
I think their favorite word was mitigation.
And there was Weintraub was doing the audio tour. And there's been all these different little layers of. So. Yeah, and then this is just like, it's just. After a while, it's like, you need like a flow chart of all the different parts and pieces. This is big.
They're like a summary place that I can go to just to come up to speed on the concept for the future. They're like a place where all of this is recorded, and the steps and decision-making. And I'd like to learn so I'm a little better up to snuff the next time it happens. Any such collective
mean?
repository of information, contractor, or,
Minutes.
You mean what's been done in the past?
yeah, just on this like signage project, and here's what we went through, and that's the, not necessarily our work, but what NDOT process, surely there's something on NDOT, yeah?
Yeah, you have to go to the.
Like dig
go to
big
the-
enough?
The project site, it's like what Drew was in before with the,
There's a
The other
project
one.
number in there,
you
right?
can go to the project number and you
Yeah.
can go in and you can click through all of the various things over the years, all the things that were done. Because some of the documents are several hundred pages long.
Yeah, maybe I'll just call the project manager and say, walk me through it.
There's this, DES number up here too, I believe.
Yeah, that's,
I'll get directly to it.
those numbers are what you need,
Okay,
and then you can,
because the detail gets lost in the volume. I'm really looking at the process used. So do we need to take action on this?
They are looking for final comment on this. I don't know if there's necessarily any need to make a vote on it. It's very similar to the last one in that we craft some sort of language. Whether or not we have comment or that we do or stand by for more comment.
Well, we've said we'll do something, so we need to respond in some way to.
would it be at all helpful for to have to go to that project? Do that project number now, like you did with the other one?
Oh,
Have a-
no,
have a
no,
visual.
it's my own
Rather than just-
identification of.
Well, I'm just saying,
understanding
it's like,
process.
you know, all we have in our packet is this email. We don't have any reference back to what this was, and it was like 2 months ago. I was just,
Well, I remember the signs and where the placement was. My question is more about the process of how we got there. You all were really comfortable with the signage, the company, the messages, from what I remember in the conversation.
yes, Weintraub Associates has been, I mean, they're Tompkins known Linda for a long time, really good cultural resource organization. So as far as their research and writing, all that, you know,
And it's been vetted several times, so is the message that we appreciate you including us in the process? Move on. I mean, is that where we are?
you know, I'm not chair anymore, so that's why I was just saying it like, you know. That's why I was just suggesting maybe we could just go to that project, site. And just have a quick review. I know we wrote letters in the past about the other phases. We doing the audio tour. We either wrote letters or we just decided we wouldn't bother commenting because it was fine. I don't remember now, honestly.
Second.
That's not helpful.
That definitely works in the past. know that we had some notes in the minutes, maybe we can go there fast, see what we discussed. This is what we discussed in the September meeting. Discussion on the content of signs, where they will be located, how to access the project information through the link provided. Whether or not the signs will be located along a sidewalk or multi-use path, and other signage project details. Then talked about whether or not the information was sourced accurately. Duncan mentioned they're not looking for approval, they're just looking for a final review. Yep, and general consensus would be more time to review to ensure information is accurate, vetted appropriately. So I imagine if everyone feels comfortable with that notion there. Could make a communication to them that we don't have any further comment. Get it off the desk. If anyone has any reservations or anything like that. I know that, I remember that Devin he had a lot to talk about regarding this one. I know he's not here this evening, so there's that to consider too.
Something required of us right now? Or can we
No.
ask this off again?
They are just essentially, they're 90% complete, and this was just like one more step in their final completion process was just to get the final thumbs up from the Historic Preservation Board, which is what I'm getting from it.
Basically, if you don't comment now, we're just gonna go ahead and do it. Now, we're
Yeah.
Reset. 95% completion and stuff.
So we've got something major that jumps in the way.
So do we need a motion to do something in particular here?
This is an old business item. It's not an actual petition or anything. But again, I don't think that motions certainly don't hurt. Especially if we're, doing something that's very final, kind of closing, maybe potentially closing the book on this one.
If we're closing the book, I would just send them an email that says we don't have any further comment. Close the book.
I think courtesy of some responses keeps us involved in.
Absolutely.
The green light, go ahead. Signed up.
I would avoid the name approve.
Yes. Absolutely. I know.
Drew, I just have one suggestion
Mhm.
in the future,
Mhm.
when you're doing the packets,
Mhm.
and there's something like this that it gets extended.
Mhm.
That in for the next go around meeting, to include the original letter or whatever that would have reference to what the product, the detail of the project, and then would also give the link to that website. And so that anybody who wants to quickly and easily go look at it again, have that information.
Okay.
Because we've been through this many times before, you get that information, You can go to that website, plug in that little number, if their website works, and then you can see everything. And that would just be good reference for everybody to have repeating.
Before we get to the meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
okay,
I mean, it's, and it's just one of those things that, folks on the board are not necessarily doing this in their day to day.
Well, these things, these types of projects string out sometimes over years and years. And the thing, the one I remember, well, all the I-69 stuff, which Devin were here, he could write a book on it, but because he was the chair during that, but when I was the chair, they were proposing the stoplight at Rockport and App/Country Club Road. At least 2 years worth of consultation letters. And I was just, the way we were doing it was the chair was just writing a response to the letter after the meetings. And we had some long discussions about the issues because there's an important historic house at that intersection. And they wanted to put sidewalks south on Rockport for, I can't remember how far, but almost to the Clear Creek Trail. And we objected because of this historic house that they would have had to cut back a whole line of trees and level off the ground and put these sidewalks in. And then they were going to do it on both sides of the street, which is completely unnecessary. And we objected to it. I objected to it in letters at least twice. And then I got a letter, more personal letter from them saying that they needed the sidewalks because of the inevitable nature of residential suburban development growth.
In that area,
Yeah.
that's like really dumb.
Yeah, well, as it turned out, there has been a number of apartment, they built an emporium, and they built a bunch of apartment buildings down there, but there's virtually no walking
On
transportation.
that road, I couldn't imagine you.
But I mean, I'm bringing it up because these things go on and on and on, but if you don't have some, as Danielle's suggesting, some sense of some keeper of memory from meeting to meeting, it's really easy to. I mean, I finally just got so mad at him. I said, there's no such thing as inevitable residential development, and they didn't put the sidewalk in, but it took 3 letters to get them to like get off it, and the neighbors ended up telling us they were so grateful to not have the sidewalk, even though they had children and stuff, because they didn't want them down playing on the sidewalk. So you do have to stay on top of it. And even if it's an objection like State Road 46, where, maybe we prefer they didn't do anything. You just have to keep, making a response, I guess is even if it's a kind of innocuous and harmless response, like. And typically that's been the job of the chairperson. Subsequent to a meeting, not necessarily the staff person. It really doesn't come from the planning department.
right, right.
So that's been the procedure to put it under the authorship of the chair.
Okay.
Well, that's another good reason to have that, just for the same reason that Susan asking questions, how do we find this information? How do we get?
How do we get him?
But it needs to be in the packets. If it's going to appear again in the business. It really needs to be pieces and packets to make it easier
Okay,
to reference it. I able to.
absolutely.
Easier for everybody.
Yeah, I think that a little bit more information rather than just an email thread or just simply just one email definitely improve
You can make a little
communication at least.
chart and then you just use it the next time and add another line.
Mhm.
Got them all.
Okay. All right, our next agenda item, I think we're moving into new business now. So we have the Bloomington Ops Tower Project Historic Properties Review. It's on page 13. Okay, so this one, planning staff received an email from project coordinator for, I believe it's Duke Energy. They're doing a ops tower project that consists of approximately 300-foot tall self-supporting lattice communications tower and associated facilities in Monroe County, Indiana. The project is located west of I-69 and north of West Simpson Chapel Road, and its address is 8111 North Lee Hall Road. So they do have a area of potential effect, APE, for the physical effects in the area that may be disturbed during the tower construction. And they have a visual area of potential effect. And that's the area in which the tower has the potential to induce visual elements that diminish or alter the setting of historic properties. See here that the VAPE for the project includes the area within a 1/4 mile or 3/4 mile radius from the tower location. And there's some maps in here as well. Keep scrolling here. Today's good.
Questions, Drew?
Yes.
First of all, if you'll scroll down, where it shows the, don't know if it has a page number, it's, the page right before you start the work plan.
Okay.
Okay, it's there, yes, okay. You see the property, where the proposed cell tower. Now, does Duke own the land that the cell tower is going to go on, or is that leased or will be leased property? Does anyone know that?
They're usually leased.
I know. I'm getting, yeah, I'm headed there.
She's got alternative question.
Well, actually, no, I know you are there. Cell towers can be a can of worms.
Oh, I know.
So
I
it looks
just-
like they own the property, this parcel here, the one that has the structures on it and the improvements. It's owned by Duke Energy LLC.
CG already owns it.
And then the larger parcel that has the red drawing on it, that is owned by CGI Real Estate Holdings LLC.
Who is that?
CGI Real Estate Holdings LLC.
Another thing I'd like to point out is the board's discussing this. This is, I think, 310. So it's big. It's big.
Are they putting these cell phones all along the interstate so people have not cells, with these towers for internet access on the device?
This is immediately across from Oliver Winery, right? Place.
It's close.
I
I
think
mean, it's just right across the road.
it's right across I-66.
Yeah, my in-laws used to own that property for 69.
It's gonna have lights on it. Anything under 200, I think it's 199, 198, they don't have to have lights on.
Yeah.
So this will have lights on it. And then you've got the cemeteries, as you can see in the drawing.
And all of those, it's probably not. It's not super clear to what's been presented to you, but all of those little purple or pink numbers. Those are resources in the SHARD database, interview resources that you can look up, which I'm doing right now. For instance, the one that is immediately south.
Yeah, what is that?
It's a Thompson Elementary School.
Oh, yeah, that was right next to the spa center that my in-laws owned. And they used to, the band used to,
Cook there, yeah, this bar or something other.
yeah, they used to come in there, yeah.
Water tower that is this somewhere close to that right
That's
now.
north.
Washington Township.
Washington Township, where that's north, closer to Chambers Pike,
So
I
the,
think.
obviously you've got two cemetery. 05 or
Did not know that Carlton Cemetery was there.
So the one that is there on Sample Road, due south of the cemeteries that are shown. Ranch house.
What is the one that's south of Williams Road on Sample?
South of Williams Road. Oh, okay, so 05046.
417. Sorry, yeah, 5001.
That's the house.
Okay.
That's, it's kind of a,
Yeah, I know which one
kind
it
of
is.
a, you know, I would call it 1940s, 1950s kind of ranch type house. South of that.
That wide swath to the west, isn't that utility line? Pre-existing?
The blue line, bait boundaries.
Yes, the blue line, blue circle is the visual.
Yeah, just, there's a swath, okay, north. going.
North.
Yes,
Here?
it goes like from less than 1 o'clock, yeah, that, isn't that like overhead lines?
Yeah.
Most likely.
And then the one at the top is the big Duke lines that go right by my house, so I know what those look like. And the,
Going back to Sample Road, further south. Number ending 05046. Resource. Right here by Mulkey Cemetery, that is the Amos Jones house.
Amos Jones. And what's
See if I
that?
can get that. And it's the 1870 Dr. Bible Tea Plant Cottage. If it still exists, Duncan, Devin showed me, unfortunately, we lost another historic resource. Another house demolished. So, yeah, so this is a,
I'm counting 9 historic resources and 4 cemeteries. I just object to the whole thing.
I think numerically stated like that, there's a lot of, I said over a dozen resources here within three
I
quarters
would
of
think the
one.
winery wouldn't be real happy about it, but on the other hand, maybe they do, so people might use their phones.
Does the vape expand outward from how high up the tower actually is or how?
I think the blue is the extent of the vape.
But is it a bigger area because the tower is so tall?
Yeah.
That you can see it, yes, okay. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that it actually made sense.
So when the
What's
leaves are
influence-
down, if you're standing on the blue line, you can see the tower.
Okay.
Am I getting it?
I think that's
Right.
the intention of the.
All right. That's a huge area.
300
So the APE, we're looking at 46, those yellow lines were the APE. And the VAPE is when you get elevation. You have to go up to elevation. So that's a new historic consideration, this cell tower proliferation.
Yeah, the red line is the physical area. Describe it exactly.
Area of potential effect.
Yeah, and then the blue circle is the visual.
Seems odd to me that there's nothing up in that upper northwest quadrant of note.
Well, probably the surveyors didn't get up there.
I
So
think
there's probably things of note that aren't.
Frequently, there's not good road network.
Yeah.
right.
It was raining, there's all kinds of stuff.
You know, there's a. Again,
Love to find old farms, so.
you don't know what's back that, you know, you can't drive down private road, right, long right away. One of these is
It's all wooded.
when you're going out to the right hand edge of that blue circle. the One that is ends in 007 is a 1972 ranch house. Here, Fox Hollow.
My current cut through Temple Road is closed. Yeah, that's right there.
Just throwing these out real quick, just so you'll have a quick estimate.
So does it do any good if we say, no, we don't like it there?
Well, they stopped the one, people, prevented the one in Upper Cascades. And, I'm not saying that that's how I'm leaning. I'm just trying to put a lot of things out on the table for discussion. But you know, the neighborhood, concerned citizens, they stopped that one.
Folks around there are the ones that are really going to get impacted by it.
And I don't think anyone's brought up yet. Maybe they have, and I haven't heard it, but I believe I'm not, this is not my area. So if they admit, I don't know, you might help me here, but it's, you know,
Not good to live around one.
that was one, yes, that was one of the concerns of Upper Cascades and all the people living around it. It wasn't just the look,
Not the aesthetic.
but it was what was being emitted coming off of this tower, so.
And
Of course.
they end up putting more and more things on this tower once they get.
Oh, does that happen?
Oh,
It happens unbelievable.
Yeah, and
yeah.
the guy who leased it out for the price that he leased it out for never gets paid again for all of it.
Anything for the added stuff on the right.
About 30 years. That's why I was trying to find out who owned the property. Because these leases usually run 25, 30 years. They like them even longer if possible. And obviously, they would be negotiating at today's prices. I know that's not our concern, the economics of it. But it's a very lucrative thing for the not for the person who's leasing, but or who owns the property, but the people who are trying to put the tower up. And just like Doug said, they just keep adding and adding and adding. Again, I'm not saying I'm for it or against it. I'm just throwing this stuff out. Another thing too, they're talking about, I'm not sure the exact verbiage, but not just the tower itself and the height, but the structures, the supporting structures, because you have to take that into consideration to go with the tower. And I'm not talking about just the fences, there are actual structures within the area, the leased area.
From a planning perspective, I know that when we issue permits for wireless communication facilities. But after one is issued, any kind of what's called co-locate, putting more equipment on the same site, it's typically just a waiver and there's not much review going. For some towers, or for wireless communication facility permits, we look at to what we call the fall zone. And that area where the tower could potentially fall over is reclassified as non-buildable area for future development.
Wow, that's 30 tall, 30 foot.
Yeah.
A 30-story building falling over basically, right?
Could someone explain to me the paragraph where they talk about, because I just don't have the depth of experience. They talk about historic age cemeteries are located, 4 of them. And I'm going back to the language that Duncan used a few minutes ago about the sidewalk, where they say that tree cover and intervening development and distance mean that it's not any big deal for these cemeteries. Tell me how that,
I couldn't tell if that meant you can't see the cemetery from the tower or you can't see the tower from the cemetery.
Well, it sounds like it's the town, you can't see the cemetery from the tower.
so how do we address that kind of an issue? What language would we use? They may be dead, but they're still there. Come on.
Cemeteries are for the living, so it's gonna be anyone who might have some interest in being in the cemetery and then seeing this 30-story scaffolding going up behind there.
Yeah, that could be unnerving, I think. And it would really decline the peacefulness of most
Mhm.
cemetery settings.
The Jones House, what? Were you able to pull up anything about any kind of designation that has, or is it just the 1870s Gothic?
Yeah, it's just contributing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, it's contributing resource. It probably wasn't any, and I was just gonna throw out the 3 properties on that. Real blue circle again. Just quickly, 7, 8, and 9 are all in the era ranch house. I think the number 9 was the surveyor had given a 1961 date, the other 3 ones.
And we're more what?
1973.
Okay,
That doesn't mean that that's a guess.
Yeah.
Unless they talk to a homeowner that built it or something, but. I can go back to. The other house.
how does the general public learn about this kind of a proposal? Are landowners notified?
It's a crapshoot.
Yeah, I'm not very well versed in the wireless communications facilities chapter. And I believe in most situations, unless there is a variance. Or any other process that would trigger a public hearing. I think it would be more or less considered a by right development. Now, wireless communication facilities as permitted use are only permitted in certain zoning districts. So being that this hasn't seen any permits officially come through planning, it has to receive the full planning review of what would apply based on zoning zoning ordinances.
Okay,
So
I can do some staff work for this one for our
well,
next.
I'm just curious. I know some people that go to the church that's right there that would take issue with coming out of the church and they'd be looking right at this tower. I think that might be, unless they're trying to get better service there. I don't know.
The reason that we're notified is because it's part of the 106 federal process.
Right.
For. It has to do with federal licensing of the service. And so 106 kicks in if there's a federal license. So that means that any historic commission in the area
Gets notified.
gets notified and has automatically has consulting power
And standing in the,
and standing. So
okay.
So, then that starts a process which allows for negotiation, a so-called mitigation negotiation, in which certain concessions might be made by the people building the tower if there's a lot of objection. So that's why I said earlier, there are enough historic resources here to just object.
Yeah.
And that'll just be, okay, we object
Now
because of.
we're on the record as
because of the
objecting.
frequency of historic structure. But, you know, the Preservation Review Board of Monroe County objects to the construction of this tower in this location, period. Then that will start the potential mitigation.
And then that gets us involved more in
We
the,
might actually go to a meeting in the long run where mitigation takes place and say, okay, well, we're okay with 150 feet, but we're not okay with 300 feet. Or you need to move this back on the site. You know, you need to move it to the north 700 yards or, I mean, you know, whatever it could be.
okay,
So when we did that for I-69, we ended up getting concessions that amounted to a multiple property listing for all the historic forest sites that were in the APE, the area of potential effect. And then so they had to, the Federal Highway Department had to pay for that. And they had to pay the consultant to do it, and we got designation of several sites and protection like that. So, you know, and stayed consultants for things like signage on Fuller Pike and everything else that they did. So it's important to make an objection if you don't. It's not important to sit here necessarily and parse out the value of each of those historic sites.
it's about,
Hey, there's 9 historic sites and 4 historic cemeteries. We object and just get the thing rolling. You don't have to be, I mean, really, no offense to anyone, this should take 5 minutes.
I totally get that, and I'm gonna throw out there, I move that we do such a letter and just get it done.
I'll second it.
I'll also say that the church can request to be a consulting party.
I'm certainly gonna make sure they know about it.
And that's the thing, anyone is able, or entities is a request. to be a consulting party. It's just the question of getting notice to other entities and individuals who might be interested. So
Okay,
And a lot of times you do that and they just they get enough objection, like the one out on Harmony Road, they just go, nah, never mind. We don't want to go through all this, with all these people, and other times they actually seek mitigation and they have to hire somebody to represent them and they, you know.
so moved and seconded, who would write such a letter, Polly?
Staff can coordinate with
Okay,
Polly,
all right.
so we can get that going. So there's been a motion and a second to, basically write a response and objection to this project. Knobs Tower Project Historic Properties Review. I will now call the roll. Okay, Debbie Reed,
Yes.
Susan Snyder Salmon,
Yes.
Polly Root Surgeon's here, Devon's here. Don Hall.
Yes.
Danielle Bashant Bell,
yes,
Don Maxwell.
Yes.
Duncan Campbell.
Yes.
Doug Wilson.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes.
That was easy.
and I'm just gonna throw out one tidbit of information that when everything was surveyed in 2015, as is often the case, when you look at this on chart, it comes up as the house, but there's actually more there than just the house.
Yeah, it doesn't include the outbuildings and the other.
It does when you dig into the survey, but on the survey it doesn't. So, you know, at that point, there was house and shed and garage and some other small buildings, yeah. So,
Oh, God, that's.
eighteen seventy house, so it had a little barn.
I'll grab Devin and have him show me around out there.
Our last agenda item. Is the 2022 work plan. So does anyone have any updates on any of the projects here that they want to share? Last where we left off is we had gotten the ball rolling on some Google Docs, Google Sheets for tabulating locations of dry stone walls for that ongoing project. And I believe that there was some talk about maybe creating a similar sheet, if there's not already one in existence, of the Devin used the word endangered buildings that may not be nationally registered or locally registered, but that could be worth checking up on or just having in the list for future reference. But of course, anyone else have anything that they want to add or bring us up to speed on, open the floor.
Is there any update on dry stone wall communication with the stone wall people or? Six, the other ways, sorry. That's done.
Got my demotion voice right here, now that I'm back from Japan.
Glad you got back safely.
Devin sent me a message, he's like, showed me the photograph. I was pretty sure it was demolition. Yeah, it's gone. Nice big, house. I have not kept tabs on any of the goals that were in my course, I'll just say that right out. Limestone Heritage Project. Talked about that before. I detest leaving things undone, so trust me, it's not like I really like the fact that I'm saying this, but I've not pursued anything with the Limestone Heritage Project. In particular, once the website didn't seem to be moving at all again, despite all attempts, I just pretty much, are done. But I don't mind committing to making once again to reach Wendy. I assume it's still Wendy. I don't even know if she's still on staff. We've not had any contact from anybody for so long, but and just see if anything's ever happened since last year, and do anything on that.
Danielle, does she have a list of things that you wanted to have done
Yes,
that were pending? So she would probably still have that list.
we all met in person.
Yeah,
the three
and
of
I
us.
gave her thumb drives with information and all kinds of stuff, and my memory is that we were basically repeatedly told, well, we can't do any of that until we figure out how to make a YouTube channel and load things on YouTube.
Pretty much what went down, yeah.
Why would?
And I mean,
And that's
anything to do with
exactly what
YouTube.
I said, but that's. Buttons are coming up to the surface because it's like, yeah, what does that have to do with all of this in making tweaks on the website that's already in existence?
Okay.
But that was the repeated answer we got, so Debbie and I think she's a lot more nice than I am and stuff. I think we basically really.
I was just trying to get
Someday.
myself up if you're not, especially if you're not gonna be here in January.
I know. Yeah, I mean, it's. I probably still, I don't know if I put it on this new computer, I probably have it on the old one, a lot of the stuff was. What we were doing. I could probably recreate a lot of that, and it probably has to be at this point, because I don't know that it's still, I mean, who knows?
You don't know if she still has it.
Right, so. And then, I mean, stuff with the dry stone walls, I mean, that's kind of, I was trying to throw that into somebody else's court, but. Following up with Jane is, I mean, it's easy, she and I use text all the time, but.
But you haven't heard anything back from her about workshops or anything?
No, I think they're basically waiting, to get pushed from this end, say, hey, we really want to do something. I mean, it's they were focusing on the Rumpke
Right.
work. And I mean, it wasn't the requirement that I know of that they bring it here, but maybe it was, I don't know.
No, I don't think so. I didn't think it was.
So-
I just. But have they finished that work or?
I would think so. I don't know if it's planning received something. Do you
Yeah,
know?
so with the Rumpke site, the dry stone wall situation was part of the conditional use.
Right.
And to get final occupancy, they have to have a preservation plan to close out that conditional use. The rest of the planning process for that is the site plan, the building permits, all that sort of stuff. So all of that, the site plan, the building permits, that has just been proceeding. The site plan was approved. And the building permits, are ongoing. They're not finalized yet, although there has been some review from planning and building. So once all the infrastructure and all the the improvements are complete, they're supposed to contact us to inform us for a land use certificate, which planning will go out and inspect to make sure everything on the site plan is up, and everything else looks landscaping, that sort of thing. At that time, I would also request that they had not already provided a preservation plan, that they do so. Because they will be holding up the certificate. I won't issue a land use certificate.
You don't have it yet. Administration.
No.
Bonds and updates. Yeah, so would you do me a favor and regarding 6?
Mhm.
Would you go to somebody at city planning and get a copy of or find the document that has the demolition delay ordinance in it?
Okay.
The city, right? The city plan, and send it to me and Don,
Okay.
so we can, that'll get us a start. Yeah.
I think it's online. I know. it's online. I just found it.
I know, I'm designated.
Okay. Well, I was gonna try to, have one. Third largest city in the state. I keep repeating myself.
Oh, very few cities have.
No, third largest city in the state, big time.
But it's
I was
obvious,
trying to-
it's obvious the guy still doesn't
I
have.
know, I'm just trying to see down that information and it's, so anyway.
That would get us over a hump that we seem to be stuck on.
Okay.
And that's probably a good point with that, because I just get an email. Is that from somebody in your office about the next review of the. Yeah. Monroe County Planning and Consolidated Development Ordinance invite you to join our next.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
And is that? That's something you should all be commenting. Delay. Et cetera, correct?
So
Within that model.
the module 2 is permitted uses, I believe, in zoning districts. I'm not sure if it would incorporate the sort of preservation chapter, but
The email that just says module two throughout, doesn't it, states.
Well, we're notified every time they do
Yeah.
a module, so I'm not sure. I didn't read that whole announcement.
yeah, staff hasn't, Jackie or Tammy haven't pulled me aside specifically regarding anything historic preservation with this module, so I don't think that,
I just want to make sure that there was still some time to
but yeah,
work on it.
there'll be plenty of time. That's moving quite
Well,
slowly.
if we
I
get
know.
that.
I'm ready.
I'll send it. Either read or read it, email back and forth, or you can each go over it. Something. So just have a talk.
Any final comments or discussion points from the board members? Okay,
Our meeting next month is kind of at a spring time. It's a little early.
On the 12th.
Yeah.
yes.
Wow.
So that was likely organized to avoid any potential quorum issues surrounding the holidays. A lot of people tend to travel.
Okay, so the 12th is it still a Monday?
It's the second Monday.
Yeah, I have a conflict there.
Yeah.
I'll go on this board meeting on the second Monday.
Second Monday, 12th.
Yeah, I noticed the new one had December 11th, so I looked it up and it, the 12th. I had it.
I won't be here either.
Believe I
Are
have.
we liable to have new business, important new business on that day?
I haven't received anything.
We're not having forum.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah.
Because I don't be here, I'll be flying back.
And you won't be here, so that's two.
Still.
I wouldn't be here the next Monday.
Debbie said she might have a conflict.
Have six. I mean, if there's no business, it's always,
Right.
it's a hard time to have.
Right, I mean, it could very well be a meeting that is full of follow-ups. If we sending out these emails, we might get some responses the next day, or, you know, it might take some time. So it could just be an informative meeting. But we will, you know, when the time comes, I'll reach out and temperature check on if there'll be a quorum issue and put you on there what the packet looks like. Okay, we're looking for adjourn. Okay, all right, thanks. Adjourn. 7:23. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Danielle, for everything.
Yes.
Yeah, this could be it.
Especially if we end up getting last time.